Hello, welcome everyone. This is Rufus Shinra from the Shinra Corporation, welcoming you to a new Raid Shadow Legends video. Today's topic will be a very particular one and I think interesting to most of you out there who are looking to optimize your comps. So there is a YouTuber by the name Philgame. He's a Russian YouTuber who recently compiled an extensive study on damage multipliers in the game. This study was brought to my attention by some very good friends on Discord. Shout out to you. You will know who I'm talking about. And I will be sharing the file where he compiled this information. So basically what he did was conduct a series of tests on damage multipliers on a lot of champions, ranging from uncommons to legendaries. And it can give us a very precise idea of how much their damage scales based on their attack, on their defense, or their HP. So without further ado, I will go through the file and I will explain how it works as I'm going. You will find a link in the description to the original YouTuber's channel, to the file as well, and let's go. So yeah, so this is the file that I am talking about. It has different tabs here, one tab for rares, another for epics, legendaries, and the final one for uncommons. And it is structured with a list of every champion. Within the different columns you will find their first skill, second skill, and third skill, as well as information about their base stats. So in each column you will see, for instance, let's take Kale. His first skill, we all know it's a poison 2.5, but here it says that it scales by a factor of 3.5 based on his attack, meaning that if you discount crit damage and if you just want to have an idea about how much damage that champion does based on his role, damage output ability, so it will be a factor of 3.5 multiplied by his attack. Then you will add to that any attack buff, you will factor in also the crit damage, and so on and so forth. So just with a quick glance, so this file is massive. There are tons and tons of rares, tons of champions in the study: rares, epics, legendaries, and uncommons. Uncommons, there are quite a few, but the file is, from what I can tell, really nice, and it can give you a fairly good idea about the damage potential of each champion. So comparing the starters, for instance, we have Kale, we have Aethel, and a little bit down below in the list we have Elaine and Gallic. So immediately Kale jumps out as the one with the AoE that hits the hardest. So his AoE on his A2 hits with a factor of 3.65, compared to Aethel, who hits by a factor of 4.1, and Elaine 4, then Gallic 4.5. So Kale is still the best damage AoE starter so far in the game, in addition to all the other perks that he had. One more reason to choose Kale if you are starting out. But this file will actually be more of use to end game players, or to players that are trying to optimize their comps, but basically any player can take a look at it and see if they're sleeping on a huge damage dealer potentially that they are not built in for damage. So some noteworthy champions here, there are a lot of them, again, as I said, and we won't have time to go through every single one of them in this video, but some things that attracted my attention, for instance, here is Mr. Jarag, whom we build with HP, because that helps his passive, which places an HP on a continuous heal based on his max HP. But again, his A1 can hit really hard if we build him with attack, although his attack is really low, extremely low, and very hard to build up, but the factor, the multiplier, is 6.7. I'm not here by any means encouraging you to build Jarag for attack, because this will defeat the purpose of having him as a support champion, but this is just a fun element to note, and this is just one of them. Another notable example is, for instance, Knight Errant, about whom other content creators such as Murder Inc. made a few highlight videos. I've seen in his video that Knight Errant can do extremely high numbers on the campaign on PvE, numbers like 500k, 700k, 800k on a single attack. So here is the confirmation as to why. So I think Murdering had estimated his multiplier to be a factor of 8. Here we see that it's a factor of 7, so pretty close. And couple that with his high base attack and his damage addition on the max attack. So again, here I'm not sure whether this reflects the champions when they are fully booked or or just not, but I would assume that this would reflect that their damage when they are fully booked. Perhaps the answer is in one of the description tabs here, but again, I don't know any Russian. I used a little bit of Google Translate as well as some digging through the channel of Mr. Philgame to see or to compile this information for you guys. So moving on, we can find a lot of champions that have high damage potential, such as the epic Lordly Legionary that we are going to get soon, if for players that have been playing for a long time. So he's part of the daily rewards, and here his A2 hits with a factor of 5.8. So the highest multipliers in general are around the 5 mark, sometimes 6 mark, but this is very, very rare. But generally, any champion that has a 5 or more multiplier definitely hits very, very hard. So just to confirm that, well, we'll go across a few legendaries. Some that are more familiar to you because they're fairly widely used. So that just so that you can see how hard they hit. So, for instance, here Hackcorn Smashlord, I think this is, hits with a factor of 6.3 on his A2, 4 on his A3, and 4 on his A1. Warlord is one that I didn't think would hit this hard, but again, take a look at these multipliers, 5.5 on the attack. But again, the reason why he doesn't usually hit very hard actually is because his attack is fairly low, and he's an HP champion if I'm not mistaken, so him scaling on attack is odd. So this points out a couple of things. One of them being that the champions in this game, some of them are actual heavy hitters as far as their multipliers go, but their stats don't help, and others can be hidden gems that we've been sleeping on. So let's move on to a case that actually most of the people here, or most of the endgame players that have done the fusion recently, know about, which is Rotos. So there has been a lifelong or an age-long question about how to build Rotos. Should he be built exclusively with attack, exclusively with HP? Does the HP help at all? So here we have the answer. This is the formula that Philgame has come up with, or has concluded through his analysis, which is his A1 scales by a factor of 2, his A2 scales by a factor of 3.8 times attack, and A3 2.2 times attack, but all of the attacks have an added multiplier of HP. So this is stated on his attack description that it scales both out of attack and HP, but it's not equal. So attack is the highest multiplier in all of them across the board, but again, his max HP is not to be neglected because he can scale to have pretty high HP, around the 80k mark, sometimes maybe higher if you build him with high HP. So if you do the math and figure out for yourself which build to put on him, I still need to digest all this data. I still need to crunch the numbers, but again, this will be really, really helpful in future builds. So, as I said, I will not be going through all of these. I will highlight just a few of them, like Lysandra, whose A2 scales really high, even though her attack is very low, but her A2 can scale very high, and so on and so forth. Finally, a few uncommons here. So one that pretty much everybody knows on, this is not Sniper, this is Armiger, good for Spider and good for other dungeons. His A1 scales with a factor of 4 based on defense, A2 same factor, but with an added bonus based on the target's max HP. And we have Sniper that has a 2.2 on her A1 and 1.9 on her A2. But then again, we have this oddball here, Zephyr Sniper. No, not Zephyr Sniper. She looks a lot like her, but this is Dervish. She's an attack champion from the Barbarian. She's an uncommon, and her A2 scales by a factor of 8.6. If she wasn't an uncommon, she would definitely be the highest scaling champion in the game, because she is actually technically the highest scaling champion in the game, but her base attack is so low It's nearly impossible to build her for high damage. Actually, I did try, and she does some nice numbers, and I will show it in a few seconds. So yeah, so this was the file. Again, you can find the link in the description, and also a link to the original content creator's channel, so you could provide him with some support. His channel is in Russian, so sorry if you don't speak Russian. And if you can get in touch with him if you are a Russian speaker, I would love to do a collaboration with him and go more in depth about his process and see maybe a few more bits about the information he has managed to compile. I think that one of these disclaimers say that this just reflects the current state of the game, so it might be subject to change in the future based on the patches that Plarium puts out. So just to end on a, let's say, a little bit of a meme note, I did build myself a level 50 Dervish just to test out the multiplier for myself, and she definitely hits hard. So this is the build that I have on her. I will show her right now. So these are her stats. She's at 2k attack, not a lot. I just focused on speed, crit rate, and crit damage. So with just 2k attack, we'll be seeing how much damage she does. So I'm trying her here. I'm using her as a campaign farmer just for the purpose of this test. So I'll put it on 1 speed so that you could see. Here, already one-shotting mobs. 26k damage on a single target, 14k on another, and this is with relatively low crit damage and just 2000 attack. This should not be possible with this kind of let's say this kind of stats. 27k, 14k, and so on. So but again, this just goes to prove how high her multiplier is, because with a multiplier of 8 times the times 80 times 2000, that would be 16,000 damage. Add to that just the crit damage, and if we count in the damage mitigation from the champion's defense, yeah, she does hit really hard. And if she doesn't die here, she probably will be able to clear this. Okay, so this didn't go well, but again, it's a hit and miss. Of course, I'm not recommending that you use her as your campaign farmer. This is just a test I did for fun, and I have fairly good gear on her, especially as far as the speed goes and the crit damage goes. I could have built her to hit harder, but that's not the purpose. So, right, again, let me know in the comment section if you have any of the champions in the list, if you were able to test the multipliers firsthand. What do you think about this information? Is it useful to you? Are you able to, will you be able to build out new comps? Or would you like Philgames or myself to do a similar study on the champions? I know that this kind of study can be really demanding in terms of resources, but I think that ultimately, since we don't have this information from Plarium, it can be really useful in helping you and helping everyone, basically, me included, optimizing our builds especially for our damage dealers. Hey, she's taking care of campaign, not the fastest farmer out there. I think I got her down to a 20-second farm earlier, 20-second brutal 3 farming earlier, but yeah, that's it, you got it. So thanks guys for watching, and stay tuned for future videos with some cool content eventually. This is Rufus Shinra, wishing you a great day, a great night, and signing out. Cheers.